Hey, are you a car guy? Come here. What do you think of that new Corvette? Get out of here. Get back. Get away from me. Thing's pretty sweet. Somebody suggested, after the last ZR1 video we watched, that I might like this video a little more. So we're not going to watch the entire thing because the video is 35 minutes long, and the way that I watch videos, that would essentially equate to probably 2 hours. So I went through and picked out some highlights. And we're going to watch some bits and pieces of this video. And we're going to talk about Corvettes. So why don't you take a seat, hang out, relax, and look at this Corvette. We're going to talk about ZR1s. Okay, and I'm so glad the Revuelto, okay, that is the Lamborghini that I was talking about in the last video that I couldn't remember. This one. That's the Lamborghini I was talking about in the last video that I couldn't remember the name of. That is like a hybrid drive system that has the gasoline engine in the rear and electric powered wheels up front. That car is actually pretty nasty. I would love to drive that thing one day. Look at that. This is really what I'm thinking. Is there any way maybe there will be some sort of modification to the C8s where we can get the circled taillights back? Would it even, I don't know if it would even, do I just need to get over it? Do I just need to get over the circled taillights and just accept that they're gone? It took me a while to accept the rear end of the C7. But I eventually did. It took some time, but I eventually did. That car is so good. See, front on, everything visually, they really nailed this car. It just looks so good. The aero is so subtle, but it really just ties the whole car together and makes it look just completely, it's borderline perfection. Just, why is it always in yellow? Why is it always in yellow? Somebody asked me when we were watching this last one, somebody asked me if I wanted to get into a ZR1, like if I wanted one of these ZR1s. Okay, well, you know, obviously, I would love to get a ZR1. But the thing is, I have kids, and these things are so absurdly expensive, right? They're probably going to be like 200 grand. Like the C7s are coming up on 200 grand. There are so many other things that I could be spending, that I should spend 200 grand. If I had 200 grand to spend, you know, or I don't know what the car payment on that would be. It'd be like $3,500 a month or something on the car payment. Like that amount of money, if you have children, there's just so many other things that I could spend the money on, like sports, college funds, you know, savings accounts for them, that like the amount of money I would have to be making to not feel guilty buying like a $175,000 car. Like I'd have to be making such stupid money that amount of money wouldn't matter. So like, yes, obviously I want a ZR1, but I mean, realistically, it's not going to, you know, it's probably not going to happen unless, you know, at some point I become some sort of like multimillionaire. That would be the only way. But other than that, it's just too much money. You know what I would really like is a C6 or even maybe a C7. I would really like a C6. And here's what I want. I want a C6 manual. Doesn't have to be a Z or a Corvette, doesn't have to be a Z or a Grand Sport. It could be a Stingray. It's fine, base model. So C6 white, almond interior, manual transmission. That one right there, that's like the holy grail Corvette for me. all white, almond interior, manual transmission, even base model. I could make it work. I find the back end, though, uninspiring. And here's the thing. I don't think, I don't want to like rant about the back end, but it's just like, it's really fine, right? It's really, I'm just saying too much. It's really okay. It's really fine. But the thing is, we're coming from such, for me, like I talked about before, the back end of the C5 and the C6 was so much different than everything else that it like defined it like defined, I don't know, coolness, right? It defined awesomeness. It was unique enough to ignite the automotive passion inside of me.
There is a
Deep
new
inside.
king of the hill. In other words, a Corvette with the ZR1 badge. You're gonna hear everyone say, that is an American Ferrari.
See, I don't know what that is. I don't know which Ferrari that is. I'm not up to date on my Ferrari models. I feel like lately they kind of all look the same. And yeah, I would rather take the Corvette.
Then you're gonna hear me say, no, it is absolutely not. But it could be an American Lamborghini.
That thing's pretty cool. Okay. Thing is, like I said, I do love a good flat plane V8, but that V10 sound.
Oh, come
I don't know. It just hits different.
on. What'd you think I was gonna do with 3 1,000 horsepower supercars? Let's go.
My money's on the Revuelto. Predictions. Post your predictions down in the comments. Who's going to win this race? My money's on the Lambo because I'm pretty sure that's like the all-wheel drive one. I don't know if the Ferrari is as well. I don't want to say this. I don't want to be that guy, but I think my money's on Lambo. $20. Jeez. Okay.
There's a Lambo right there!
All right.
Oh my God, listen to
No.
that thing! Catching up!
I think the Lambo lifted for cinema.
Catching up!
I think he lifted for cinematic effect. I could be wrong, but I'm never wrong.
Wow! That settles that. The Corvette ZR1 is not supercar fast. Corvette ZR1 is hypercar fast. It is so easy to say, this is unprecedented. A Corvette has never been this powerful.
Okay. That's wildness. All right, so we're going to skip ahead to the next part of the video that I wanted to watch. Oh, actually, you know what? Just a tiny little bit. They go through the different ZR1s here. And we're going to take a look at this C6.
No one bought them.
Open your eyes.
It was a marketplace failure.
Feast your eyes.
And that was a shame.
I see what you did there.
It would take Chevrolet 15 years to resurrect the ZR1 nameplate, skipping the entire...
That car in a C6 ZR1, all white, almond interior. Do they even make that? That would be... Oof. And this is going to sound weird too. I think these cars are the only cars that I like chrome wheels on. Other than that,
C5 generation.
I can't do it.
When the C6 ZR1 badge appeared, it was missing a hyphen, but followed its predecessor's recipe. 3 inches wider, twice the price, and performance to shit on everything else.
I remember when these came out, the C6 ZR1s came out, and it was the Blue Devil one, you know, with that whatever the name of their blue is, with, you know, with the blue recipe, on black,
3 inches wider, twice the,
and it just like, I feel like it just completely imploded the automotive world. Like that was just, yeah, I feel like it was just such a game changer. And I remember when that car came out, it was like, that was just the coolest, the most spectacular looking car that I had ever seen.
Performance to shit on everything else.
Once again, it used the best of modern...
A pretty wild sound too. One thing that I would like borderline disappointed. I don't know if it was because I was just in the car or not, but in my C7 Z06, I feel like I didn't really get a lot of supercharger sound, and obviously I really wanted some whine. You could get a little bit. You could hear it just like a teens, like pulling on the highway, but that was just about it. I would have liked a little more.
Technology for performance.
A little more whistle.
Titanium clon rods, carbon fiber body parts, carbon ceramic brakes. In fact, the same carbon ceramic brakes that Ferrari used on the Enzo.
True story. I named my kid Enzo.
And once again, active shocks. But this time, they were the magneto-rheological ones that GM had developed and then licensed to Ferrari.
Speaking of which, the ZR1 made 1 1/3 times the power of Ferrari's contemporary F430. No outrageously expensive Lotus engine this time, just 10.5 pounds of boost from a blower on top of the small block. And it made...
See, it's just... The thing is about this one, it's perfection from every single angle. Like, there are no bad angles on a C6. It's kind of like a Gen 6 Viper. There's just no bad angles. Okay, I just paused the video for a minute to pull up some pictures of my old car, my old Z, because I started to get a little nostalgic. Missed the old goat. So here, I want to pull up some pictures I took of it so you guys can check this out. It was nice. Okay, had the Aero package on it. Wasn't the Z07 package, but it had like the Z07 Aero, the Z07 style Aero. Man, it was wild. It had the full thing tinted, windshield tinted. It was just, it was so nice. Take a look here. Little video I took. Brought it out to the beach at sunset. You know, it was just such a good looking car. I used to just take it places, like to do photo shoots. I would just drive it places to take pictures of it. I wish I had more pictures of some of my old vehicles. Someday I'll do like a video, and I'll talk about all the old turd box cars I had. But this is just, this car was perfection as well. The Z06, the C7, just, and this was another one. It's like, I don't know how the Stingrays from a lot of angles in the C7 look like doo-doo. Like the front end actually looks like the face of a Stingray. At the right angle, it looks bad. Okay, I think it was the grill. There's a slightly different grill on the Stingrays. It has the like chrome bar that goes across the front. It looks like trash. And then, once you add the front splitter on there, just looks so nice. But yeah, that's my old car. Back to the video. Okay, this is why I said we can't watch the whole thing.
The C6 ZR1 wasn't just a straight line monster. Once again, it had a complete performance envelope. It broke the record for the most skid pad grip ever recorded and the shortest braking distances ever measured.
And it did all that, pretty fancy shock absorber technology, right? But still had the leaf spring in the back.
And it added up to a production car
just looks and sounds
record around Laguna Seca.
Hey, I set that record. I remember. That car drove so well, it was manageable. It was fluid, Jason. I really wanted one of those.
Did you wash your hands?
We're going to skip ahead to the other part. Let's see, 22. This is the drag race between the C7 and the C8. So we're going to jump ahead to this part.
Easier time putting down 1,064 horsepower than the C7 did 755. Even if Randy had been able to get
the ZR1, that would be a really fun car to drive. I would love to drive one of those. But they are completely different animals. I feel like, handling wise, I really don't think that the C7 is going to handle as well as a C8. Obviously, right? Being mid-engine and everything. And just thinking about if the C8 ZR1 is much better than the C7, it must be crazy. Because I remember, I took an off-ramp. No, not me. I would never do this. A friend told me about a time they took their C7 Z06 off this off-ramp and just at like 90 miles an hour. And it felt like he told me, the inside of his guts, just like, I felt like my internal organs were trying to leave my body, allegedly. The G-force was crazy.
a perfect launch, the new ZR1 would be a full second quick.
Like, I couldn't get that car to the edge of what the car, like, I couldn't get the car to the edge of where it could handle because, you know, it was kind of scary, right? You know, which is probably a good thing because if I would have found the edge, if I would have found the limit, I probably would have crashed. But that was the first car that I'd ever drove that I did not feel like I didn't have the skill to get to the limit of the car.
Quicker through the quarter mile, but he couldn't on Willow's pockmarked surface, and here the C7 was more than 10 car lengths behind.
I don't think that's any
The
surprise.
C8's
But dude,
9.8 second run makes this easily the
The other
quickest
thing-
acceleration.
I think this is a bit of
Surface,
cinema
and
as
here,
well, right?
The C7 was more than 10 car lengths
Look at the wheel
behind.
spin.
The C8's
I know for a fact that it has traction control. And I'm pretty positive that those also have a launch mode, even in the manual.
9.8 second run makes this easily the quickest accelerating two-wheel drive car we've ever tested here. The mid-engine configuration goes a long way, but its biggest benefit is actually something you'd never have thought of: packaging.
The C7 ZR1's supercharged V8 was so tall that it stuck up through the hood. And that's the only way that forced induction would have been possible. Turbochargers would have made the engine so wide that the factory wouldn't have been able to drop it past the frame rails. And you can't just poke holes in frame rails the way you can.
That makes sense. I'd never really thought about it, to be honest, but I always was curious as to why they went with a supercharger on there instead of turbocharging the motor. But I guess that makes sense. If it's up front, there's just literally not enough room. Easier to go higher than out to the sides.
And in a hood. You also can't just widen them out because you need to leave room for the front wheels to turn. Rear wheels don't have that problem because they don't turn. Plus,
I love those wheels on this car. Those look nice.
it's far less important to see what's behind you, especially when you have 1,000 horsepower. This car has more than enough room for an even wider overhead cam V8. Plus, turbos on the outside of that, and then intercoolers stacked right.
It's so stupid. The other thing that I was just thinking about, right, it kind of going along the lines of, do I want one of these? Like, yes. Yeah, right, yeah, I want one of those, right? I'd love to have one of those. I wouldn't do anything with it. Like, I would just clean it and, like, drive it to the gym and drive it to work if it was really nice out, and, like, drive it to a golf course. I don't even golf, but if I got one, I would probably start golfing, right? I want to get into golf. This would be a good segue to get into golf. But, yeah, the thing is, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't do anything with it. And maybe that's really what I was conflicted with my Z06, is I had it and it sucked because the monthly payment on the thing was like $1,000 a month for that car, and I loved it. It was great, but a lot of the time it just kind of sat in the garage, especially after I had my son. When he was a new baby, yeah, I didn't go for a whole lot of rides. I didn't go out for a whole lot of cruising with a new baby at home. I was spending a lot more time at home, and it's kind of hard to, you can't really go anywhere with a family of 4 with your Corvette, right? You gotta, it just doesn't work. So it sat in the garage a lot, and to be honest, a lot of the enjoyment that I got out of it was like just cleaning it. Like I was ridiculous about cleaning that car. I cleaned it basically after every time I drive it, except for this 1 month-long stretch where I had to daily drive it because the Duramax that I had at the time was a complete piece of crap, and it was a 2018 Duramax. It was completely cursed, and it was just like problem after problem. It was a cursed vehicle. It was trash. It needed a new engine at like 20,000 miles. So yeah, there was a short period of time where I had to daily drive the Z06, which was, as you can guess, fantastic. But other than that, I would just go out and maybe like go to get some dinner, or maybe go like drive it to an appointment, and I would go home and I would just clean it, re-clean all the wheels, re-go over everything with wax. Man, and I loved that. I loved cleaning that big, expensive pile of crap.
Right on top of the turbos.
The LT7's turbos are part of the exhaust manifold, which are mere inches from the intercoolers, which are in turn right next to the twin intake manifolds that have 60% less volume than the LT6, the Z06's naturally aspirated version of this engine. The result is dramatically reduced turbo lag.
Jason, didn't you tell me this has the largest turbos ever on a production car?
That's what I'm told.
And this thing feels like a naturally aspirated engine with about 10 liters.
Man, that would be so fun.
I always think it's a cop-out when people say, this engine feels like it has no lag, because they're usually full of poop. But honestly, I agree with you. At track speeds, this has no lag. It's because GM uses...
That's pretty impressive. I got to take their word for it. But getting it down to, feeling lagless like that that's pretty impressive. Almost, I want to say though, like take some of the fun out of a turbocharged car. I feel like that's part of the charm of it. Back in the day, I had this Nissan 240SX. This was my second car. It was a 1993 240. And the thing had like 220,000 miles on it, some stupid amount of miles. So obviously the first thing you do when you get a car that's that old is I bought a bunch of turbo parts on eBay, and I basically bought everything you need to turbo, and I turboed that sucker in my garage. So this would have been 2009. I did that, assembled turbocharger. I remember I built the downpipe. I had bought some section of exhaust at the junkyard from a Chevy Silverado, and I cut it up and re-welded it and made the downpipe work, and got all the parts together. It was a T3, T4 turbo on some eBay manifold that I had to modify a little bit to get to work. Mostly eBay, like junk parts. This was also back when everybody bought their car parts on eBay, right? So there was like, now we just call them like, knockoff Chinese bullcrap or whatever. But back then we used to say it was eBay parts, right? So yeah, it's an eBay blow-off valve. Not going to get a Gritty RS, just going to get the eBay parts. But yeah, I turboed that car for $900, and it was a piece of junk, but it was great. It was tuned with this thing called an SAFC2 controller. It's like a super airflow converter, I think it was called. And essentially what it did is it interrupted the signal from the mass airflow sensor that goes to the ECU. And you could basically, you had to do it with, basically you did a butt dyno, is you got your boost gauge and your air to fuel ratio gauge that you got going on set up in the car. And you would basically do a pull, let it rip into gear, and you would watch the air to fuel ratio gauge, and literally it was this ghetto. If it went lean, you would just go in the little controller and punch the buttons and like just turn the fuel up. You would just basically trick the computer into thinking it's getting more air than it did. And that car had like incredible turbo lag. This is the reason why I'm telling the story, right? Because the car just had incredible turbo lag, but that was like really part of the fun, is that you would mash the gas and it wouldn't do anything, and it would be like brrr, and then all of a sudden once you get up to like 3,500 RPMs, turbo would spool up, and it would just like explode with power. And it actually did explode and cracked a piston ring, or a ring land, cracked the piston. But yeah, before it actually exploded, it would explode with power, and it was fun. Had character.
It's full closed loop boost control. So it's
I wish I
got
had
a turbo
pictures of that
speed
car.
sensor and an electronic wastegate, so it knows how fast the turbo's spinning and can play tricks to keep boost even when you're off throttle. So when you get back in, it's perfectly linear.
Well, you need linear response when you have this much power.
He's probably right about that, right?
Look at that.
You probably don't want to just like get punched in the face with power, with 1,000 horsepower. And from this angle, this car looks so good from the front. It looks so good.
You can't have 1,000
That looks so nice.
explosive horsepower. You're going to be backwards.
Like the C7.
Like the C7,
Like the C7.
would do that for sure.
Look at this slide.
Okay, last bit of this video we're going to go check out. Let's see, 3230. I'm going to check it out right here. This is the last section of this video I wanted to check out. Okay, side by side. Your thoughts, right? What do you think? How are we feeling about this? To be honest, the Corvette is not giving me like supercar vibes. It's something different, When I think supercar, I think Ferrari, I think Lambo. I know it's similar, but I just feel like it's something different.
And the
What do you think?
Revuelto is a Lamborghini through and through. I mean, just look at it. It's all angles and slats and grills and anger.
Yeah.
And I admit, bringing a flagship V12 supercar Lamborghini into a ZR1 episode isn't
Okay, so I lied earlier. It wasn't a V10 sound, it was a V12. Still, crazy sound.
an exact match, but this is the only Lamborghini sports car you can buy right now, and I needed you to see it next to the Corvette ZR1. Look at these two cars and tell me the Lamborghini doesn't actually look a bit restrained next to the Corvette. Tell me the Corvette doesn't look more like a Lamborghini than it does like... like today's Ferraris.
Okay, what is
Corvette
he saying?
doesn't look more like a Lamborghini than it does like today's Ferraris.
Does it look more like a Lamborghini? Does it look yeah, maybe.
ZR1 and Lamborghini are about to get even more similar because the forthcoming Temerario ditches Lamborghini's harrowing naturally aspirated V10 in favor of, you guessed it, a twin turbocharged flat plane crank V8.
I don't like the way that looks.
Just like the Corvette ZR1, following perfectly in the footsteps of Ferrari.
Yeah, again,
or
another
more accurately, where Ferrari.
To me, I don't know. That looks like a Hyundai to me. That does not, like if I saw this coming up behind me, I would think it was a Hyundai, like a K5. Is that a Kia? Yeah, so like a Hyundai or a Kia. I'm not thinking Lambo. You see this behind you. That is a Lambo.
It doesn't look more like a Lamborghini than it does like
That ZR1 looks so good.
today's Ferraris.
ZR1 and Lamborghini are about to get even more similar.
Okay.
On one personality, on one goal, speed.
Yeah.
And to get there, the Corvette is using Ferrari's old formula, beating Lamborghini to the punch. It's easy to say that the C8 switch to a mid-engine layout enabled it to graduate from an American sports car to a world-beating supercar. It's also easy to forget that every previous ZR1 has trounced those world-beating supercars too.
ZR1 definitely is the king on the road right now. I know there's going to be things that have a lot more power. But I just don't think there's anything on the road that just has that aura. I can't really explain it. It is with, if you know, you know, right? This car has got it. And you know what it is. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, thanks for coming by. Let me know what you think down in the comments. What's your favorite Corvette? Tell me. See you on the next one.